So today, just to go back to the title slide briefly, is a webinar about how to find a collaborator making research connections at Boston University. So what we'll be looking at today is just that, how to find potential collaborators in various research areas of interest around Boston University. Just a few notes before we get started, especially for those of you that came in after I went through a couple of these at first. Please make sure you stay muted for the webinar. Your camera can be on or off based entirely on your own personal preference. There's no reason for you to have it on. If you'd like to leave it on, you can. But please do make sure you stay muted. If you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them via the chat function. I'll do my absolute best to answer them in real time. I can usually keep up with most things that come in. We will have a break about halfway through and another chance at the end. During that break and at the end, I will go through any questions that I did not catch in real time. If you ask me something extremely specific to your own personal circumstance or that would be a really involved, complicated answer, I may ask you to email me separately. I don't want to spend too much time diverting down a track that isn't useful for the general population in the webinar. If you have questions after the fact, or you just would prefer to communicate that way, feel free to email me at jpfarmer@bu.edu. Last couple notes, I will send out a copy of the slides. Usually within a week or so. We do just need to make sure we get them up and hosted on the research support website before I send them out. But you don't have to worry about frantically taking screenshots or notes. If there are any major tech issues, the webinar crashes, things like that, keep an eye on your email, the one that you use to register for the webinar. That's where we will send any updates and communications. And finally, before we get started, the webinar is assuming some basic knowledge of both the SciVal and Dimensions databases. These are two online bibliometric platforms that BU subscribes to and provides access to for everyone with a bu.edu email. There are links at the end of the PowerPoint to those websites, so you can register for those. And there are also links to webinars from recent semesters that are kind of basic trainings on those platforms. So no need to panic if you've never used those or heard of them before. During the webinar today, I will kind of assume you have some knowledge of them, but if you don't, go ahead and watch those webinars. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you need some support. So what do we cover today? Basically, we'll be looking at how to use 5 different tools in some level of depth or another. SciVal, BU Experts, Dimensions, BU Profiles, and a brief look at the Centers and Institutes website to kind of look into each of these and how they can be used and what kind of information they can give in regard to finding faculty collaborators and research collaborators to hopefully build connections with and collaborate with on future research projects. We'll look at SciVal and BU Experts, and then we will take a break. Then we will look at Dimensions, BU Profiles, and the Centers and Initiatives. Once we've done that, we'll have a little wrap-up time for Q&A. I'll also, in the break and the Q&A at the end, put up just kind of a practice exercise that you're welcome to do if you're following along and have registered for SciVal, Dimensions, those kind of things. It's just to kind of help reinforce the skills that I'm showing you and how to conduct the sort of searches that I am showing you. Last bit of housekeeping before we get started. We did have a lot of questions and comments come in before the webinar. When you registered, there was an opportunity to put in questions you were hoping that I could address or answer in the process of the presentation. A number of things that people asked we will address as we go, but just to clear up a few things that were repeats coming in over and over again, what we are going to cover and what we are not going to cover. The primary focus of the webinar today is to illustrate methods for faculty to find other faculty within BU to conduct research with. That's the overarching objective today. The tools that I will show you some of them can be used to find external collaborators. So for example, SciVal, I will be showing you how to use it within the context of Boston University, but it could be used externally as well. For the fairly large number of postdocs and graduate students that we had register, that were asking questions about finding faculty with research expertise in certain areas, you can use these tools to do that. So those are kind of things that we will cover or touch on. Things that we won't so much do, these tools will not help you find other students. We had a few people ask questions about finding like students with similar interests. We don't have that information. I don't have access to a database of that. These tools can't do that. We won't also be covering anything with regard to mentorship or finding mentors in existing or new research areas. Again, this is a workshop that is targeted at a faculty audience as its primary audience. Some of these things can be generalized to postdoctoral scholars or graduate students, but we do have to keep in mind the scope and time limits we have when we're assessing what we put in the PowerPoints and cover today. If you are a graduate student and asked one of those questions, there's a couple email addresses. If you are a doctoral student and have mentorship questions, gradpd@bu.edu is your best place to start. If you're a postdoctoral scholar and you have questions on that sort of mentorship end of the spectrum, postdocs@bu.edu is where you are going to want to go to get that support. There are resources, there are people that are, part of their job is providing that support. Those are not things we will be covering today. So all that housekeeping taken care of, let's jump into the actual content. So the first thing we're going to look at is SciVal. This is as I said, an online bibliometric database that BU provides access to. If you just go to scival.com and use your bu.edu email, it's easy to log in and register for an account. Everybody, student, staff, faculty who works at BU and has a BU email address is allowed access to SciVal. Without going into too much detail on the inner workings of SciVal, again, watch that other webinar if you are interested in that introductory kind of SciVal explanation. There are two features in SciVal that we can really use to identify potential collaborators. Everything in SciVal is built up from publications. So we're going to be looking at, find two different ways we can use publications to find subject area expertise. And these two ways are the topic and topic cluster function, which are pre-made clusters based on citation network analysis. They're algorithmically named, so they do have kind of wacky names, but it's a pre-made, predefined thing in SciVal built around a similar theme, or just how to construct our own custom searches from the ground up that we can use a lot of limiting and excluding filters to create a highly customizable publication set that we can then look for authors. Either of these ways, we find authors of papers within a certain area and use that to identify a potential collaborator and put expertise in a given area. So topics and topic clusters. We'll talk through these two different ways to use SciVal, and then I will actually go into SciVal and show you. Topics and topic clusters, like I said, are based on networks of papers that cite each other heavily back and forth. In your SciVal search window, which you'll see me demonstrate shortly, that little kind of circle with another circle inside it is the topic and topic cluster symbol on the menu to select. You will go to that tab and be able to enter keywords, search terms, whatever you're trying to identify, and it will automatically kind of generate and populate a list of topic clusters that have that keyword. So if you go in, start typing racism, it will start finding different topics and topic clusters that, as part of that algorithmic name generation, include racism and related subject areas. The good news is that topics and topic clusters are pre-generated. They're fast. They're right there. You don't have to do any customizing and worrying about a search. There's no processing time. They're just already there and ready to go. You can use the summary tab once you've picked a topic cluster to get some high-level BU information, and the authors tab can get either worldwide authors or you can limit it to Boston University. So that's one of the two methods I'll show you. The other is custom searching. What custom searching allows you to do is refine a search in a more detailed way than you can in a topic or topic cluster. The bad news with topic clusters is they're rigid, predefined, and you can't mess with them. They are what they are. They don't always fit exactly what you're after. They're not always perfect. That speed and usability has its drawbacks. Custom searching takes a little more legwork to set up. You have to put in the time to construct your search query, to filter it, and to get it just right. But once you create the custom search, you have a lot more power to really refine it to a publication set that gives you exactly what you're after, the exact types of publications, the exact discipline, all these kind of filters to get a very, very specific view of the kind of research area you're looking for. And then you can use that to identify authors at BU that might be a strong collaborator in that area. So both of these searches rely on you coming in knowing what area you would like to find a collaborator in, and they both, with different levels of speed and specificity, help you identify who at BU has published in that area. Last couple notes on custom searches before I switch over to SciVal and show you. You do need to use Boston University as a limit filter if you want to just look at internal collaboration. Otherwise, you get a list of a lot of people because you're looking nationally or globally. You also need to filter down below 100,000 results. If you have more than 100,000 publications in your search result, you can't actually save the search. It's too big. If you have more than 5,000 results, it does require computing time. I'm hearing somebody making some noise on their microphone. If I could remind everybody to please stay muted, that would be fantastic. If a search result has more than 5,000 results, it takes computing time. That computing time usually is within 6 hours, 8 hours, but can take longer depending on the amount of search queries that SciVal is having to process from their entire user base. They also don't do any processing on weekends. The reasons for that are explained in the SciVal webinar. So just keep in mind that bigger search results might take you a little bit of time. That's where using a topic cluster might save you a little time while you wait for something to process. Question came in, is this in the sciences, not humanities? The answer is it's in whatever topic you would like it to be in. SciVal has all discipline areas, all different publication types. So if you're in a discipline where book chapters or just full authorship of books is the kind of publication norm, those things are all caught in SciVal. If your typical kind of biomedical peer-reviewed journal is the standard publication, it's got all that too. All of the tools, as a side note, that we'll look at today, none of them are explicitly discipline specific. One of them functionally at BU is a little discipline specific, but I'll call that out when we get to that particular tool. So this is just a visual for anyone watching this online who won't be able to follow along quite as well with when I switch to SciVal, but let's go ahead and look at SciVal itself. Okay, so again, if you need instructions on how to log into SciVal, go ahead and watch that webinar. I'm assuming you've got your SciVal, you've registered for your account, log in, click on that overview tab. That is always your place to start. And we're looking for that little circle within a circle, topics and clusters. Click on that. And this is that menu that will auto-populate. Right now, it has just a laundry list of things that I have clicked on and looked at for some reason in 3 or 4 years of using SciVal. So don't pay any mind to the oddities that populate my list. Feel free to start populating your own. Let's just put in race. And you can see we get all kinds of things. We get a cinema topic cluster. That's that TC. These hollow kind of circles with a T, that's topic. We have, much more biomedical kind of enzyme looking topic, racehorse topic cluster, amino acids. We have all kinds of different stuff here. Populate whatever kind of keyword you want. We look at concussion. Again, we have topic clusters and topics. Some of these topics are probably included in the topic cluster within that structure. But either way, let's just pick one. Brain injuries, wounds and injuries, and patients. So here we have our topic cluster. And right now, like I said in the PowerPoint, you land on a page where this summary kind of gives you an idea of what BU's output is in this area. Right now, I'm looking at the last 5 years, so 2017 to current approximately. And we can see in the last 5 years or so, there have been about 255 pieces of scholarly output, which includes any kind of publication, that have at least one BU author. Could be a graduate student, could be a faculty member, could be anybody, but that's what we're catching publication-wise. To find an author, so, using this example, you're interested in collaborating with someone at BU who's doing research on concussions. Maybe you have, you're in engineering and you have some kind of therapy delivery device you're working on. Maybe you're in, more of a qualitative approach, looking at, the experiences of concussion, people who've suffered concussions, patients, their families, etc. Whatever lens you're taking on it, you're looking to find a collaborator who is doing research on concussions. Well, you can do a couple of things here. Number one, you can just hit view list of publications. If you do that, it brings up a list of all 255 publications. This isn't super helpful in this view, but what you do have over here is one of the filters is authors. So right off the bat, we have a list of who are the most common authors of these 255. Right at the top is Anne McKee, who, not surprisingly, has been a prolific author in this area of research. And going down this list, this doesn't guarantee that they're all BU, because many of these papers are collaborations with other universities. If another institution has an author who has collaborated on many of them, they'll show up on this filtering list as well. But it's a good way to kind of start by saying, okay, here's a whole bunch of people that are frequent authors. And right off the bat at the top, you have Anne McKee, who's one of, like I said, our prolific researchers in this area. And you can just go down this list. If you want to filter, you can then apply a filter by that author and now see, okay, there's only 50 publications. What are they about? You can look at the abstracts and see, is this researcher doing the kind of work that I am looking to collaborate with? Or should I take this filter off? Maybe Anne McKee's work on concussions isn't quite the approach you're looking for. Well, let's try Dr. Stern. Apply filter. And once again, 39 publications. We can go down that list and see, hey, does this person at BU do the kind of thing that I'm looking to collaborate with. The other option is to click on the Authors tab. And again, this just takes us to a list of the authors. Right now, it's showing me the top 100 at BU. This dropdown has different options. If you're looking for an internal collaborator, just make sure it's at Boston University. This is one of those tools that you could use to find collaborators outside of BU just by checking a different search item. So at BU, right off the bat, here we go. We see the same names we see, from that other option in the publication list, but Anne McKee at the top with those 50. These are only BU authors. That's the advantage of doing it this way. You don't have to worry, is this person BU or not? These are all people that are affiliated with BU. They're not necessarily faculty. They might be research staff. They might be students. At the top of the list, these names are pretty much all going to be faculty, but just keep in mind any kind of person can show up on this list. SciVal doesn't filter out faculty versus not faculty. So that's the topic and topic cluster. The other thing you can do is those custom searches. Go to publication sets, or you can do this in research areas, either one. Let's go to research area. We'll go to add new. Define a research area. What this is going to allow us to do is, start constructing that custom search. Just to stick with the same example, let's use concussion as a nice, simple kind of starting word, and then we'll hit search. This will then process and think for a second and go, okay, in the past 5 years, it has found me 9,000 publications. Great. That's big enough or small enough that it doesn't hit that 100,000 hard cap. So I could search if I wanted to. But if I hit next step, it's going to flag that it takes that processing time. I don't want to wait. Let's refine it further. So we can do a limit or an exclude filter for lots of different things. We're looking for an internal collaborator. So I'm going to go to institutions. I'm going to alphabetize this, and I'm going to find Boston University, and we're going to limit it to Boston University. So now I've taken my concussion search term and limited it to only papers in the last 5 years that have an author from Boston University. You can already see I'm down to 146 publications. That's less than we had in the topic cluster. And that just has to do with the fact that the topic cluster might be catching research that doesn't have the word concussion specifically in it, but because it's related to concussion. To show up in this search, it would have to have explicitly that keyword in it. If I wanted to filter further, I could go to sources. This would let me pick specific journals or things of that nature that I wanted to include or exclude. Since we did limit it to BU, the country and region filter isn't super useful here. The organization type also isn't super useful here because everything has an academic institution, BU, affiliated with. If we keep going, next step, I can name it. You can add a description for your own notes, tags for your own notes. Again, watch the SciVal webinar if you want to see more of kind of this stuff. And let's save and finish. This was a very small research area. So it didn't take very long at all. Once again, we are in the author tab already, and here we go. It's that same thing. Here's a list of the authors at Boston University with publications in my little set of 146. A lot of these names are the same. The order is a little different just because it is a different list of publications, but the principle is the same. We have now identified a list of BU people that have published in this area. You could search for critical race theory. You could search for any discipline any topic that you want to search for with the keywords. Doesn't have to be STEM. It doesn't have to be humanities. It can be anything. So that kind of summarizes the two easiest ways to find this in SciVal. That either the topics and topic clusters or the custom searches. Either one works. Either one is going to help you find what you want. I'm going to pop back over to the PowerPoint. Oh, this is not quite what I wanted it to do. There we go. Okay, now we're back to the PowerPoint. So the next tool we will look at is a little bit of a simpler tool, kind of one more complex one slightly simpler one before we take our partway through break. Next one is BU Experts. And this is a very simple, very easy to use tool for anybody in any discipline to find BU faculty. It's a tool managed by BU Public Relations, and it's just a website kind of database that has BU faculty with self-chosen areas of expertise as keywords. So do keep that in mind, that this is not based on a publication analysis. This is not based on grants, research output. This is self-identified areas of expertise by faculty. BU Public Relations, like I said, maintains it. It is publicly available, and by design, a tool that exterior people from BU can use to find experts at BU. So if a local, news channel, newspaper, or something like that wanted to find a BU faculty member to comment on something, current events, some issue that was going on, this is a tool that those people can use. That's where it came from. It is, however, also very useful to quickly find faculty interested in an area of collaboration. If you just are, real fast want to know, hey, do we have anybody that study blank or are experts in blank? This is a really fast way to see if somebody pops up. It is a self-choice kind of opt-in item. So not every faculty member is on here. If you are a faculty member, it's only open to faculty. If you are a faculty member, there's a link to that form. Again, I'll send these out so you don't need to frantically copy it down or anything. There's just a Google form you can fill out there to send to BU Public Relations to include yourself in the database, and you'll pop up on the website. So if you're not in there and you would like to be, that's how to do it. But again, it is a public-facing tool, and it may lead to people outside BU contacting you. So let's have a look at it. Back to my web browser. And let's go to, that's the wrong one. The Zoom menu is not making things easy here. I apologize for the slightly annoying tech issues here. The menu is hiding what I need. There we are. So this is what BU Experts looks like. Just BU, Public Relations, we are experts, brief explanation of what it is. And then it is a list of people. There are currently, looks like about 675 people in the BU Experts database. And these are the kind of things you'll see on a faculty member's profile. Name, their kind of rank in school or college, and then some self-selected areas of expertise and a little bit of contact information. It also links to their full departmental profile. So, very simple, very high level, nothing overly in depth, but a very, very quick way to just see if there's someone in a given discipline or a given area. This is fairly high level. It's not the most specific. So I would say this one is better as a starting point because you're not necessarily seeing the in-depth very focused research area. If I just put in the keyword computer, we're going to get the computer science kind of end of things for the most part. And look at that. What do we have here? Computer science, computer engineering, these sort of things popping up. But if we were interested in a computer science end of things, we can start to see here, okay, these are people that are in this database that have some level of tie to computing in their research and their interests. You can look at their school and college, which is something that SciVal doesn't tell you, to maybe get an idea of what lens they might already be taking. Right here, assistant professor in Questrom. So a more big data, economics, business, and finance approach with computer science than someone perhaps in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. So you can say, okay, does this make sense for what I want? Does someone who's looking at computer science with economics and business and finance fit my, idea for a research collaboration? Or am I looking for something in more the engineering kind of space, in whatever sort of area? And so you can use these to see if there's someone who kind of fits multiple buckets, so to speak, of what you're looking for in the collaboration that you have in mind. You're not just seeing pure computer scientists here. You're seeing people that have interests in computer science, but also other areas. It's a very simple tool to use. Everybody on there is at least somewhat willing to be contacted based on the nature of this database that they've put themselves in. So it's a fast, easy way to get started. Not a whole lot else to touch on with that one. Once again, if there are questions, feel free to kind of throw them in the chat as we go, but I don't think that one requires a whole lot more explanation. So somebody just asked, where's the link? The links are at the end of the PowerPoint. I will send that out. Like I said, within a week of the webinar, usually I'll get that emailed out to everybody that attended. So you'll get it that way. You can also just Google BU experts, and this should be pretty much the first result. All right, so that was BU experts. Right now, we'll take just a brief break to let people run to the restroom if they need to, or to ask any questions, and to, if you so desire, have a look at the SciVal topic cluster to practice your own skills there. So if you have any questions on SciVal or BU experts that you haven't put in the chat, feel free to do so now. I will answer those as best I can. If you are following along in SciVal and want to do that little practice exercise, go for it. I am seeing one person who threw a potential answer to that little practice exercise in the chat. I will walk through it very briefly in just another minute or so. So we will see if those names match what I find. Well, that said, I am not seeing any other questions pop in. So I will go ahead and just quickly show that kind of SciVal topic cluster answer and then move on. So if I just go back to SciVal, let's see, where is my web browser? So we're looking for a topic cluster. Do I have that one predefined? I don't think so. Let's see. There we go. This is that. So you'd start off by just searching for the name of the string that I gave you, pervasive child development disorders, autistic disorder child. Remember, the topic clusters are algorithmically named based on common keywords. The names can be a little bit kind of strange sounding in the string of terms together, but that's just how those are. So I'll go there. Once again, we can either pull up the publication list and look that way, or we can just go to the authors tab, which is what I would do. And we can see, here we go, Helen Tager-Flusberg, Sarah Beth Broder-Feingert, and Emily Feinberg. So those three names that I did see in the chat, yes, indeed, are the three that I saw as well, along with a large number of other names that have done at least some work in that area. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. And so next we will look at dimensions. Those, if any of you that have come to the dimensions workshop will remember that one thing I talk a lot about in that workshop is that searching in dimensions can be a bit of a challenge because it's a very potentially powerful, but also potentially troublesome search window in that you have the ability to add lots of filters, lots of logic, and or not all kinds of those sorts of things. It's very easy to accidentally give yourself no search results because you needed too many and criteria in your search. And all of a sudden, no publications meet your requirements. That said, Dimensions has search capabilities and power that our other resources here just don't have. SciVal, you can build those custom searches, but you're limited to what they have and the filters that they have in there. Dimensions has a much wider variety of filters. You also have a really powerful potential combination of using different filters and limiting things while simultaneously doing keyword searching of either full data, abstract and title, or looking directly for digital object identifiers, though that's not super useful here. What this is going to let you do is use those various filters, whether it be keyword searching, whether it be just looking at disciplines and other filters, or whatever may suit your purposes, to really hone down, again, a publication-based list to a specific topic area, a specific kind of thing that you are interested in collaborating on, and finding then a list of authors at BU that are frequent publishers or have published the most work in those areas. So it's all about constructing that search to limit that publication set to what you want. That alone is a good way to hunt in dimensions. Dimensions also, though, in addition to just powerful search features, has the ability to use citation networks. And this is a really cool thing that, as far as I know, we don't have another search tool that has this capability. What it lets you do is it lets you look at the network of papers that have cited a kind of core publication that you select. So you say, okay, maybe you wrote a paper. Maybe you've identified a paper in a really interesting topic area that you're interested in collaborating with and are looking for people that are doing research in that similar area. You can take that paper, whatever it is, that core item that's gotten your interest in a collaboration, and then have Dimensions show you all of the publications that have cited that paper. And then again, you can look at the authors in those papers and say, who are some internal collaborators at BU? Who are people here that have cited this and thus might be doing research in a similar area that you could then reach out to build that kind of collaboration with. One note here is that the more a paper has been cited, the more information you're going to get here. So this kind of tactic doesn't work as well with really recently published things. It takes a little bit of time for papers to be out in the world, to be read, to be cited, to be built upon and cited some more and some more and some more. That's just the nature of the publishing ecosystem. If a work got published on October 30th, it's not going to have 100 citations by November 1st. So if you go for something super, super recent in this citation network approach that I will show you shortly, you're not going to find as much information. It's just not going to have a network out there really for you to jump onto. If you have a paper 2, 3, 4 years old, you're going to get a lot more information here. All right, so let's go ahead and look at these two different options. So Dimensions, once again, if you have not registered for Dimensions, you can watch that webinar that'll be linked when I send out the PowerPoints. It's available to anybody with a bu.edu email address. It's all there, ready for you to use. The website is at the top there. It's app.dimensions.ai. There'll be a login button in the top right corner. Use your BU information, and you'll be good to go. So once we're into Dimensions, there are the filters for searching over here on the left side of the screen. Since we're focusing on internal collaboration, what we want to do right off the bat is find a research organization and then limit it to BU. So we'll hit more because Boston University isn't on the top list there. Let's see, Boston University in Boston, USA. That's us. We'll hit limit to. Great. So now we're only seeing publications that are at Boston University. 136,000 publications are in the Dimensions data sets, grants, patents, clinical trials. Dimensions has all kinds of good stuff. But we're looking for something a little more cohesive. This is every topic over years and years and years and years. We're not interested in everything. We're looking for a specific collaborator. Oh, geez, I'm blanking on an example. Let's see if we can find something to collaborate with regard to science education. So to add that, you just click on the search bar. Instead of using a filter, just click in the search bar, and anything you type into that text box then gets used in this search. So we're searching the full data, which means everything Dimensions has for keywords. So we're saying science education. Well, let's see what this got us. 25,000 publications still, which is a fair amount. And what we can start to see here is that our search didn't do a great job um, in limiting us to one topic area. We're seeing a lot of medical school education, dental education, science outreach. This is looking more like a kind of primary or secondary education kind of target. So our search didn't give us a super specific thing. So we can go in here and we can try and edit that. Let's see if we can search it as one keyword there instead of just science or education. Let's type science education. So now we've taken that 25,000 we had and refined it to about 1,700. So we've done something to kind of cut this down. Again, we're still seeing some of that kind of diversity. And this is kind of illustrating the challenges that searching in dimensions can have, that we're refining, we're looking, we're refining, we're looking, and that's going to happen with dimensions. That's that power, but also difficulty in searching. Now, let's say we're happy with our keyword here. We can also start adding other filters. One of the most useful that's mentioned in the PowerPoint is the research categories. So we've got BU, we're looking for an internal person. We've got this science education keyword. Research categories gives you a lot of different types of slice that you can take. The most useful is fields of research. That's just going to be broad, kind of fairly standard, normal, in quotes, disciplinary areas. So we have, education, mathematical physics, nuclear and plasma physics, curriculum and pedagogy, health sciences, and so on and so on. Well, let's say I'm interested in that curriculum and pedagogy. I'm looking at the teaching of science. Well, again, check the box, hit limit to, and now we're down to 144 publications that have a Boston University author in, and science education is showing up as a keyword somehow. This is giving us a little more of what we want now. We're kind of refining our search and we're here. Couple ways you can find authors from this to find those people to reach out to you for your potential collaboration. You can just go to researcher over here, and this is going to show us the top handful of researchers in our publication. So of these 144 publications, these are the people with the most publications among them. As with SciVal, this kind of simple method, while fast, doesn't guarantee you that all of these people are from BU. Someone who is at a different institution and has collaborated with BU a lot could also show up here. The other thing you can do is look into analytic views and go to researchers. And again, it's going to give us a little more information. So this is kind of the better way to do it. We can see this top result is Boston University, 9 publications in that publication set. Maybe that's a good person to reach out to if you're looking for a collaborator in the kind of curriculum and pedagogy space of science education. Then we can see what I warned you about, that these next couple of authors are not actually at BU. They just collaborate with us frequently in this area. Maybe that's a beneficial person to connect with as well, but just keep in mind that those types of results are in here as well. And then we can start to see, okay, here's a few more hits from BU faculty that perhaps are the right place to reach out for that collaboration. If you want to, you can click on one of them and it will take you to just their publications. So again, I added the researcher and it took me back to my search and just added that researcher as a search criteria. And so now we can see just those 6. And this is a great way to assess, is this person's work exactly the kind of thing I'm interested in collaborating with. So the other way to find a potential collaborator, again, find these authors and dimensions, is that citation network. So I'm going to get rid of our keyword here. I'm going to kind of open this back up a little to a little more broad search. So I'm just going to look at curriculum and pedagogy at BU. So we have 952 publications here. I'm going to look for something a little older because, like I said, we don't want something with like no citations here because that's a little tougher to work with. Let's see. These are our highest cited ones. Let's just take this top citation getter in our search results. What you can do is scroll down to the publication citations. So this article has been cited 434 times. If I just go ahead and click Show All, it's going to take me to a new search window that has the 434 papers that have cited this kind of core publication. Now, I am back in a new search window, so I need to reapply Boston University, but hey, look, here we are on the list. So let's apply Boston University. And now we can see that there are 9 papers that have cited that original kernel we used to start the citation network. And we can see those 9 papers, and we can see the authors over here in the analytic view the same way as before. And so once again, some of these names are the same as the prior list because we are in a similar kind of space with curriculum and pedagogy. Here is actually the same person I clicked on before. Here is another Professor O'Connor, another BU researcher. And we've done the same thing in a different way. We have found potential collaborators on a curriculum and pedagogy type of focus and topic. But this time, instead of just basing it on discipline, we started with this original search term that was the citation network built around a publication. That was papers that have cited this original article about deliberative discourse, accountable talk in the classroom and in civic life. So if you were looking at curriculum and pedagogy and this paper was of interest to you as a point of collaboration and focus, we've now identified collaborators based on that paper and research that has gone on to cite that paper. All right, so those are the 2 kind of primary methods and dimensions to find collaborators. I'm going to pop back to the PowerPoint briefly here and show you 2 other tools in the PowerPoint. Then I will pop over to the web browser again and show you just briefly those 2 tools online. The next is BU profiles. And earlier when we got started, I said to answer a question that pretty much everything we're using today is discipline neutral. Any discipline, any area, STEM, humanities, arts, whatever, works for everything. BU profiles is the one tool we have here today that I'm mentioning that really isn't very useful for certain disciplines. And that's not by design. That's just by virtue of where BU is currently with implementing this system. So BU profiles is a database of all BU researchers, or some BU researchers, I should say, that is searchable by keyword. Right now, BU profiles contains the medical campus faculty and a very small selection of Charles River campus faculty in the biomedical space. So, biomedical engineering, biology, those sorts of disciplines. The reason for this is that BU profiles is built from a system called the mesh keyword system that is a biomedical built keyword hierarchy. So it's designed to fit with those kind of disciplines. Really, BU Profiles works for PubMed and NIH type research or adjacent disciplines. So if you're looking for someone in those kind of areas to collaborate with, BU Profiles is a really, really strong tool. If you need a collaborator working on cancer, if you need a collaborator working on heart disease, things like that, go to this tool. It's searchable. It's fantastic. If you are looking for something not so much in those areas, right now it's at a very rudimentary stage. We're currently looking at how to add more of the CRC faculty because there is recognition that this is a very powerful tool for finding internal collaborators. A lot of people really like this tool, and it's really, really easy to use, to find, and powerful to search, but it only works for some disciplines. So we understand that there's a desire to expand it to more disciplines, but that involves a little bit of work because we would have to build out our own keyword hierarchy because the mesh system that it's built on only works for certain disciplines. So it's in the process of growing. It's something in development. Right now, it's just that kind of PubMed and NIH type of work. If that applies to you, awesome. If not, hopefully we can get this to be a little more diverse disciplinary wise in the near future. So that's just a, again, picture of what the search box looks like. I'm going to show you that in just a second. The last thing that of the tools, kind of the fifth, is not so much a tool, but just a resource that not everybody is aware of. Boston University has a vast array, north of 100 different centers and institutes that all to a certain extent have collaboration and interdisciplinarity and fostering the development of these kinds of ideas as part of their mission and part of their explicit goals in their research and in their plans and mission statements and things like that. These are all manner of different disciplines, policy and photonics and systems biology and on and on and on. Not just STEM, not just humanities, not just arts. And all of these centers have that mission to increase collaboration. And so there is a list of these on the Office of Research website. And very frequently when people, reach out to me asking, questions explicitly about collaboration in certain pairs of disciplines, like, hey, I'm looking for X kind of collaboration. Do you have any place you can point me to start? A lot of the times there is a center or institute that already exists on campus that has that as part of their mission or has one of the discipline areas as part of their mission. So it's not building something from scratch. There's a center you can reach out to that has people in it that are doing the kind of work you're looking to collaborate with, that can help you find that collaboration and connect you with people in that center that want to collaborate and break disciplinary boundaries in those areas. So just going to this website, Control F, and look for keywords that interest you is really a potentially powerful way to find that starting point for your collaboration. So real quick, I'll show you these two tools. Let's hop back over to the web browser. First off, just because it doesn't really have much for me to show, this is the Centers and Institutes website. Office of Research is the BU Office of Research website. Collaboration works, Centers and Institutes. If we just look at this list, there are tons and tons and tons of centers. And all these links go to the websites for those centers and can take you to people to contact at those centers. My advice here, just hit Control F and let's put in policy. Okay, well, we have 3 hits for policy. Emerging Infectious Disease Policy and Research Center, 1 potential set of things. Next, we've got the Global Development Policy Center and the Human Resources Policy Institute. So depending on what you're looking for, there's 3 different, very different things that all have, just looking for policy in the name. Doesn't mean those are the only policy centers, we just control F policy and found 3 potential things depending on what you're interested in. 1 just kind of simple place you can look. The other tool is this BU Profiles. So this is the BU Profiles website. Again, the link will be in the PowerPoint that I send out. You can also just Google BU Profiles. And you hit this keyword search. I will use the example of lung cancer. Clearly, I've used this example before. Since this is only that kind of biomedical adjacent type work, we have lung cancer. Let's just hit search. And right off the bat, we have a whole bunch of search results, 327 people. And so right off the bat, let's just look at this top result. We have Dr. Spira, who's an MD in the medical school department. He's in medicine, division of computational biomedicine, and he's our #1 hit. Well, what we can do here, it's cool, #1, that we already just have all these results for potential lung cancer collaboration, if that's what you're looking for. You can also go over here and click on why. And now it will say, here's a statement about the research expertise. And then here are the items. Here's just a list of all of the things that hit with our keyword search for Dr. Spira. So we can just go down this list of article after article, awards, grants, all of these things matched lung cancer. So it's not just telling you, here's what he does, lung cancer fits. It's giving you this explanation as to why and giving you the level of granular detail that, again, lets you assess, is this collaboration really what I'm after? And you can do that for every single person on your search results. And so that makes it, like I said, it's a really powerful tool, and it's something that we can hope and we really want to bring to a wider variety of disciplines, because this ability to search so easily and to see why it's giving you the search results is really, really useful. So that kind of wraps up the content for the webinar. Again, now is a fantastic time. If you have more questions on any of these tools, not just the ones we saw most recently, feel free to put those in the chat. If you want another practice exercise, if you're interested in following along in dimensions, there's a question there, kind of similar to the SciVal one earlier, that just gives you a chance to practice and use the skills that I tried to briefly show you today. But if you don't have any questions or want to do that exercise, that is all we have to cover today. So thank you for attending. I will stick around for a few minutes to answer any questions or to walk people through that practice exercise if they would like. And other than that, if you aren't sticking around for those things, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you at future events.